The massive alien ship moved through space like a dark shadow against the stars. Admiral Vexstar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion Spear, watching the blue planet grow larger on his screens. Earth looked peaceful from this distance, with white clouds swirling over green and brown continents. It looked defenseless. Vexstar had conquered 17 worlds in his long career. Each time, the pattern was the same. His fleet would arrive, the primitive beings would panic, and within days, they would surrender. Some species tried to fight back with their crude weapons, but none had ever posed a real threat to the mighty Zephyrian Empire. This world would be no different. The scouts had sent detailed reports about the humans who lived there. They had barely managed to put a few small ships in space around their own planet. Their weapons were simple nuclear bombs and basic missiles. Their technology was hundreds of years behind the Zephyrians. "Admiral, we are now in position," reported Commander Zekros from his station. "All 67 ships are ready for the attack." Vexstar nodded slowly. His fleet was enormous by human standards, but for the Zephyrians, this was just a routine invasion force. Each ship carried plasma cannons that could melt mountains and energy shields that could stop any primitive weapon. The humans had no chance that far below on Earth. Jake Harrison was drinking his third cup of coffee when the alarm started screaming. The young officer nearly dropped his mug as he stared at the radar screens at NORAD. Dozens of massive objects had just appeared on the edge of the solar system, moving toward Earth at incredible speed. "Sir, we have multiple contacts," Jake called out to his commanding officer. "They're huge, and they're not showing any identification signals." Colonel Mary Johnson rushed over to look at the screens. She had been in the military for 20 years, but she had never seen anything like this. The objects were clearly artificial, clearly ships, and they were bigger than aircraft carriers. "Get me the Pentagon," she ordered, "and wake up everyone. I think we just made first contact." Within minutes, every military base on Earth was buzzing with activity. The alien ships were not trying to hide. They moved in perfect formation, there, hulls gleaming with strange blue lights. Telescopes around the world turned toward the sky, confirming what everyone already knew. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. Admiral Vexstar watched the human planet with satisfaction. He could see their primitive satellites changing position, trying to get a better look at his fleet. Some of their crude space stations were sending out radio signals, probably trying to contact the ships. It was almost amusing how predictable they were. "Send the standard message," he ordered. "Give them 24 hours to surrender." The message was broadcast on every frequency the humans used. It was simple and direct, translated into all their major languages. The Zephyrian Empire had come to claim their world. They could surrender peacefully and serve as workers, or they could resist and be destroyed. The choice was theirs. In the White House, President Charles Anderson sat in the Situation Room, surrounded by generals and advisors. The alien message had been playing on repeat for the past hour. Everyone in the room knew this was the moment they had been preparing for, even if most of them didn't know just how prepared they really were. "Do we respond?" asked General Amy Brooks, the head of Earth's Unified Defense Command. "Not yet," the president replied. "Let them think we're scared. Let them think we're just another primitive world they can push around." At the same time, deep underground in a secret facility, Dr. Kevin Walsh was watching his screens with nervous excitement. He had spent 15 years working on the planetary defense grid, and now he would finally see if it worked. The alien ships were powerful, but they had no idea what they were really facing. Captain Lisa Martinez was aboard the orbital defense platform Echo 7, one of dozens of stations that the aliens had dismissed as simple research facilities. She checked her weapon systems one more time, making sure everything was ready. The plasma cannons were charged, The missile tubes were loaded, and the quantum shields were at full power. "All stations report ready," she told her crew. "When this starts, we're going to show these aliens what humans can do." The alien fleet moved closer to Earth, taking up positions around the planet. Admiral Vexstar was pleased with how smoothly everything was going. The humans had sent no response to his message, which meant they were probably arguing among themselves about whether to surrender. Some species tried to negotiate, but it always ended the same way. On Earth, the 24. Hours passed slowly. News networks around the world showed the alien ships hanging in space like dark clouds. Some people panicked and fled the cities. Others stood on rooftops with cameras, trying to get pictures of the invaders. Most just waited, trusting that their governments would protect them. Jake Harrison had not slept in 36 hours. He sat at his station, watching the alien fleet and waiting for orders. Around him, other officers were doing the same thing. Everyone knew that when the aliens attacked, Earth would fight back. What they didn't know was that Earth had been preparing for this fight for decades. The countdown reached 0. Admiral Vexstar smiled as he gave the order to begin the attack. His ships turned their weapons toward the planet below, ready to demonstrate the power of the Zephyrian Empire. This would be quick and easy, just like all the others. "Fire," he commanded. The first plasma beams lanced down from orbit, aimed at major cities around the globe. The aliens expected to see explosions, fires, and panic. Instead, they saw something that made no sense at all. The beams simply disappeared, absorbed by invisible barriers that surrounded the planet. Vexstar stared at his screens in confusion. This was impossible. No primitive species had ever developed planetary shields. His tactical computers were showing error messages, unable to explain what they were seeing. "Sir, our weapons are having no effect," reported Commander Zikros. "The planet appears to be protected by some kind of energy field." For the first time in his career, Admiral Vexstar felt a chill of fear. These humans were not as primitive as the scouts had reported. They had technology that his scientists didn't understand. He had made a terrible mistake. Admiral Vexstar stared at the screens in disbelief. His most powerful weapons were hitting Earth's surface, but nothing was happening. The plasma beams that could melt entire mountains were simply disappearing into thin air. The energy readings showed that something was absorbing every shot, but his sensors could not detect what it was. "Increase power to maximum," he ordered, his voice tight with anger. "Focus all fire on their largest cities." The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with everything they had. Hundreds of plasma cannons sent bright beams of destruction toward Earth. The night sky lit up like a deadly fireworks show as the alien weapons poured energy toward the planet below. But still nothing happened. The cities remained untouched, protected by invisible shields that seemed to drink up the alien fire. Deep beneath the Colorado mountains, Dr. Kevin Walsh watched his control panels with growing excitement. The planetary defense grid was working perfectly. Every alien shot was being absorbed by the hidden generators scattered around the globe. The energy was being stored in massive batteries that would power Earth's weapons when the time came. "All grid stations report normal operation," he told his team. "The aliens are actually helping us charge our systems." Captain Lisa Martinez floated in the zero-gravity command center of her space station, watching the alien fleet through her telescope. The enemy ships were firing non-stop, but they had no idea they were being watched by hundreds of human eyes. Earth's orbital platforms looked like simple research stations from the outside, but inside they were packed with the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built. "How long do we wait?" asked her second-in-command, Lieutenant Pete Wilson. "Until they get frustrated," Lisa replied. "Let them waste their energy. When they stop to think, We'll show them what real firepower looks like. On Earth, people watched the light show in the sky with amazement rather than fear. The news reporters were calling it a miracle. The alien weapons were clearly hitting something, but the cities below were completely safe. Nobody knew about the secret shield generators, except for a few hundred scientists and military officers. General Amy Brooks sat in the Pentagon War Room, watching satellite feeds from around the world. The aliens had been firing for 2 hours straight, and their weapons were starting to show signs of overheating. Their attack pattern was becoming more desperate, more random. It was almost time. "Dr. Walsh, what's our power level?" she asked into her headset. 93% and climbing, came the reply. "These aliens are very generous with their energy donations." Amy smiled grimly. The aliens thought they were fighting a defensive battle, but they were actually walking into the most sophisticated trap in human history. Every shot they fired was making Earth stronger, and they had no idea what was coming. Admiral Vextar was beginning to panic. His fleet had been firing for over 2 hours, and they had accomplished nothing. His ship's weapons were overheating, and his energy reserves were running low. The tactical computers were showing that they had used 40% of their total firepower, but the human planet was completely undamaged. "Sir, we should consider retreating," suggested Commander Zekros. "This is not like any world we have encountered before." "No," Vextar snapped. "We are the Zephyrian Empire. We do not retreat from primitives. There must be an explanation for this." But even as he spoke, doubt crept into his mind. The scouts had been so certain about human technology. They had observed Earth for months, studying human weapons and defenses. How could they have missed something this advanced? The answer was simple, though the Admiral would never figure it out. Humanity had been preparing for this day for 70 years. Ever since the first radio signals from space had been detected, Earth's governments had been working together in secret. They had built weapons in hidden factories, trained soldiers in underground bases, and developed technology that no alien scout would ever suspect. Dr. Maria Santos monitored the battle from the International Space Station, which was actually the command center for Earth's space-based defenses. Around her, dozens of technicians tracked every alien ship, every weapon, every movement. The quantum communication system allowed instant coordination between every human military unit, creating a unified defense network that spanned the entire solar system. "The aliens are slowing their rate of fire," she reported. "I think they're getting tired." "Perfect," replied General Brooks. "Begin Phase 2. All around Earth, hidden doors began to open. Weapon platforms that had been disguised as communications. Satellites revealed their true purpose. Railgun batteries that looked like radio telescopes turned toward the alien fleet. Missile silos that appeared to be mining equipment prepared to launch their deadly cargo. The aliens had been studying Earth for months, but they had only seen what humanity wanted them to see. Every major military installation was hidden underground or disguised as something harmless. The real defenses were invisible until the moment they were needed. Captain Ryan Davis commanded the lunar mining base, which was actually a massive weapons platform built inside an old crater. His crew had been living underground for 3 years, waiting for this moment. The base was equipped with mass drivers that could launch projectiles at incredible speeds, turning simple chunks of rock into devastating weapons. "All stations report ready for launch," he told his team. "Target the largest ships first." Admiral Vextar was about to order another attack when his sensors detected something impossible. Energy signatures were appearing all around Earth, dozens of them in hundreds. His tactical display lit up with warnings as weapon systems came online throughout the human solar system. "Sir, we are detecting massive weapon signatures," reported his sensor officer. "They appear to be targeting our fleet." The Admiral felt his blood turn cold. This was not a primitive world, protected by a simple shield. This was a fortress, armed with weapons his computers could not even identify. The humans had been hiding their true strength, letting the aliens exhaust themselves against defenses that were designed to absorb everything they could throw at them. "All ships, prepare for combat," he ordered, but his voice was shaking. "We are not fighting primitives. We are fighting an enemy that has been waiting for us." The trap was about to spring, and there was nowhere to run. The first shot came from the moon. Captain Ryan Davis pressed the launch button, and a chunk of metal the size of a car accelerated toward the alien fleet at incredible speed. The mass driver used magnetic fields to push the projectile faster, and faster until it was moving at nearly the speed of light. Admiral Vextar watched in horror as the projectile struck his lead cruiser. The alien ship's energy shields flickered for a moment, then disappeared completely. The metal chunk punched through the hull like it was made of paper, and the entire ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. What was that? He screamed at his crew. How did they penetrate our shields? The answer was simple, but the Admiral would never understand it. The Zephyrian shields were designed to stop energy weapons like lasers and plasma cannons. They had never encountered kinetic weapons, moving at such extreme speeds. The metal projectile had so much momentum that no energy field could stop it before the aliens could react. Dozens more shots came from hidden positions throughout the solar system. Earth's asteroid mining stations revealed their true purpose as massive railgun platforms. Each one launched tungsten rods at the alien fleet, turning simple metal into devastating weapons that could destroy ships 10 times their size. Commander G-Crows watched 3 more ships explode in quick succession. "Sir, we need to retreat immediately. These weapons are beyond anything we've seen." But there was nowhere to go. As the alien fleet tried to turn away from Earth, they discovered that they were surrounded. Hidden weapons platforms throughout. The solar system opened fire, cutting off every escape route. The humans had not just built defenses around their planet. They had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Dr. Kevin Walsh monitored the battle from his underground command center. The planetary defense grid was working perfectly, but now it was doing more than just stopping alien weapons. The massive energy collectors were redirecting power to Earth's orbital weapons, giving them unlimited ammunition for their electromagnetic launchers. "Grid efficiency at maximum," he reported. "We're converting their own weapons fire into our ammunition." General Amy Brooks watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Every alien ship was being tracked by quantum sensors that could see through their stealth systems. The enemy had superior technology in some areas, but they had never faced an opponent that could coordinate attacks across an entire solar system in real time. "Launch the second wave," she ordered. Captain Lisa Martinez had been waiting for this moment her entire career. Her space station looked like a harmless research facility, but hidden inside were torpedo tubes loaded with humanity's most advanced weapons. The quantum torpedoes used matter-antimatter reactions to create explosions that could crack a planet in half. "All tubes ready," she told her crew. "Target their command ship." The torpedoes launched silently through space, invisible to alien sensors until they were too close to stop. Each one carried enough destructive power to level a city, but they were designed for precision strikes against heavily armored targets. The alien shields that had protected them for centuries were useless against weapons that existed partially outside normal space. Admiral Vextar felt his flagship shake as the first torpedo struck home. The explosion tore through 17 decks, killing hundreds of crew members and destroying critical systems. Emergency lights flickered throughout the ship as damage control teams rushed to contain the fires. "Sir, we've lost main power," reported his engineering officer. "Life support is failing on decks 12 through 30. The admiral could not believe what was happening. His fleet was being destroyed by a species that supposedly had not even developed faster than light travel. Every tactical assumption the Zephyrian Empire had made about humanity was proving to be completely wrong. Colonel Ben Parker activated the orbital railgun network that had been disguised as communication satellites. The electromagnetic launchers began firing metal slugs at the alien fleet, each one carrying the destructive power of a nuclear weapon, but without the radiation signature that the aliens' sensors were designed to detect. The projectiles struck the alien ships with devastating effect. The Zephyrian hulls were strong enough to withstand energy weapons, but they could not handle the kinetic impact of solid objects moving at such incredible speeds. Ship after ship exploded as the railgun rounds punched through their armor like bullets through glass. Dr. Maria Santos coordinated the attack from the International Space Station, using the quantum communication network to ensure perfect timing. Every human weapon fired at exactly the right moment, creating a devastating barrage that no alien fleet could survive. Direct hits on 17 targets, she reported. Enemy formation is breaking apart. The aliens tried to return fire, but their weapons were designed for fighting other energy-based civilizations. Their plasma cannons and particle beams were powerful, but they were slow compared to the kinetic weapons that humanity had developed. By the time they could aim and fire, the human projectiles had already struck their targets. Captain Steve Morrison commanded the battleship Defiant, hidden inside a hollowed-out asteroid. The massive ship had been under construction for 15 years, built using resources mined from hundreds of smaller asteroids. Its fusion torch drive could accelerate it to incredible speeds, and its quantum torpedo arrays could destroy entire fleets. All weapons ready, he told his crew. Time to show these aliens what human engineering can do. The Defiant burst from its hiding place, its hull gleaming with energy fields that made it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. The alien fleet was in chaos, their formations scattered by the devastating human attack. Individual ships were trying to escape, but the hidden weapons platforms throughout the solar system cut them down one by one. Admiral Vextar realized that his empire's greatest fleet was being destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The humans had not just been preparing for this attack. They had been studying every battle the Zephyrians had ever fought, learning from every victory and defeat. They knew exactly how to counter every weapon and tactic the aliens possessed. Send a message to the home fleet, he ordered desperately. Tell them we need reinforcements. But even as he spoke, he knew it was too late. The human attack was too coordinated, too overwhelming. In minutes, the pride of the Zephyrian Empire would be nothing but floating wreckage in the cold vacuum of space. The battle timer in General Amy Brooks' command center showed 12 minutes as the first human shot. In those 12 minutes, 23 alien ships had been destroyed, and the rest were scattered across space in complete panic. The mighty Zephyrian fleet was falling apart faster than anyone had dared to hope. Admiral Vextar's flagship was badly damaged, with fires burning on multiple decks. Half his fleet was gone, and the rest were trying desperately to escape. But everywhere they turned, human weapons were waiting for them. The aliens had walked into a trap that covered the entire solar system. "Sir, we must retreat to hyperspace," pleaded Commander Zekros. "We cannot fight this many enemies at once." Vextar tried to give the order, but his communication systems were damaged. Even if he could contact his remaining ships, there was nowhere to run. The humans had somehow blocked every escape route with their hidden weapons platforms. Captain Steve Morrison pushed the Defiant to maximum speed, chasing down a group of alien cruisers that were trying to reach the edge of the solar system. His ship was faster than anything the aliens had ever built, powered by fusion engines that could accelerate it to incredible velocities. "Target the lead ship," he ordered his weapons officer. "Fire quantum torpedoes." The torpedoes streaked through space, their matter-antimatter warheads creating explosions that lit up the darkness. 3 alien cruisers vanished in balls of pure energy, their hulls unable to withstand the devastating power of human weapons. Lieutenant Commander Ashley Turner coordinated the final assault from her command post on the battle station Liberty. The massive space fortress had been disguised as a simple communications relay, but it was actually the nerve center of Earth's orbital defense network. From here, she could control every weapon platform in the solar system. "All stations, this is Liberty Command," she broadcast. "Begin final phase. No alien ship leaves this system alive." The response was immediate and devastating. Hidden weapons. Platforms throughout the solar system opened fire simultaneously, creating a web of destruction that no alien ship could escape. Railgun rounds, quantum torpedoes, and kinetic kill vehicles filled space with deadly projectiles. Dr. Kevin Walsh watched the power readings from his underground facility. The planetary defense grid was working at maximum efficiency, converting every alien weapon shot into energy for human weapons. The aliens were literally powering their own destruction with every desperate attack they made. "Grid overload in 30 seconds, he reported. "We're absorbing more energy than we can store." "Then it's time to end this," replied General Brooks. "Release all stored energy at once." The command went out across the quantum communication network. Every human weapon system in the solar system received the same order at the same instant. The coordinated attack that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Vexstar watched in horror as his remaining ships were destroyed one by one. The humans were not just fighting a battle. They were conducting a symphony of destruction, with every weapon firing at precisely the right moment for maximum effect. It was military coordination on a scale that his species had never achieved. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No primitive species could have such technology." But the humans were not primitive. They had been preparing for this war for 70 years, ever since the first radio signals from space had been detected. While the aliens had been conquering weaker civilizations, humanity had been building the most advanced military force in the galaxy. Captain Ryan Davis launched another barrage. From his lunar base, the mass driver had been firing continuously for 13 minutes, sending metal projectiles at the alien fleet with mechanical precision. Each shot was perfectly aimed, calculated by quantum computers that could predict the exact position of every enemy ship. "Direct hit on target 17, reported his gunner. "Enemy vessel destroyed." The alien ships were trying to coordinate their own attacks, but their communication systems were being jammed by human electronic warfare specialists. Every time they tried to send a message, quantum scramblers would intercept and scramble the signal. The alien fleet was fighting blind and deaf. Dr. Maria Santos monitored the battle from the International Space Station, tracking every alien ship with sensors that could see through their stealth systems. The quantum detection network gave humanity a complete picture of the battlefield, while the aliens could only guess where the next attack would come from. 14 minutes since first contact, she announced. 37 enemy ships destroyed. Remaining ships are attempting to flee, but there was no escape. The humans had turned their entire solar system into a fortress, with weapons hidden behind every asteroid and moon. The aliens had expected to fight a few primitive ships around Earth. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by the most advanced military force they had ever encountered. Captain Lisa Martinez fired the last of her quantum torpedoes at a damaged alien battleship. The massive enemy vessel was trying to limp away from the battle, but its engines were failing. The torpedo struck the ship's reactor, and the explosion could be seen from Earth's surface. "That's the last of them," she reported. "All enemy ships have been destroyed." The battle timer showed exactly 14 minutes. In a quarter of an hour, the entire Zephyrian invasion fleet had been wiped out. Not a single alien ship had escaped to warn their home world. The wreckage of 67 starships drifted silently through space, proof that humanity was no longer the weak species. The aliens had expected to find Admiral Vextar's flagship was the last to die. The great warship that had conquered 17 worlds was torn apart by human weapons, its hull cracking under the incredible forces. The admiral had just enough time to realize that his empire had made a terrible mistake before the final explosion consumed his ship. General Amy Brooks looked at the tactical display with satisfaction. Every red dot representing an alien ship had disappeared from the screen. The first interstellar war in human history was over, and humanity had won a complete victory. "All stations cease fire," she ordered. "The battle is over." But even as she spoke, she knew this was just the beginning. The aliens had come from somewhere, and when they failed to return home, others would come looking for them. Humanity had announced its arrival on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same. The silence that followed the battle was strange and heavy. For the first time in human history, Earth's skies were clear of an alien threat. The wreckage of the Zephyrian fleet drifted through space like a metal graveyard, proof that humanity was no longer helpless against the dangers of the galaxy. President Charles Anderson stood before the cameras in the White House, preparing to address not just his nation, but the entire world. Behind him, military advisors and scientists waited, quietly. Everyone knew that this moment would change everything humanity understood about their place in the universe. "My fellow Americans and citizens of Earth," he began, his voice steady despite the weight of what he was about to reveal. "Today, we faced our first test as members of a galactic community. We have proven that Earth will not bow to any aggressor, no matter how advanced they claim to be." Around the world, people watched in amazement as the president revealed the existence of the secret defense programs. For 70 years, their governments had been preparing for this day. Hidden factories had built weapons in underground facilities. Scientists had developed technology that surpassed anything the aliens possessed. Military forces had trained in secret bases, waiting for the moment when Earth would need to defend itself. Dr. Helen Rodriguez was already deep into her analysis of the alien technology recovered from the destroyed ships. Her team had been studying alien science for decades, but now they had actual hardware to examine. What they found was both encouraging and troubling. "The Zephyrian technology is advanced, but it's old," she reported to the Defense Council. "They haven't innovated in centuries. Their weapons are powerful, but they're designed to fight enemies who think the same way they do." General Amy Brooks nodded as she reviewed the intelligence data. The aliens had been so confident in their superiority that they had stopped developing new technologies. They had conquered 17 worlds using the same tactics, the same weapons, the same strategies. Humanity's greatest advantage had been that they were completely unpredictable. "What about their home world?" asked the general. "Do we know where they came from?" Dr. Rodriguez pulled up a star chart on the main screen. Their navigation computers contained detailed maps of this entire region of the galaxy. "We now know the location of every world they've conquered, including their capital planet." The implications were staggering. Humanity now had access to information about dozens of alien civilizations, trade routes, and military installations. In 14 minutes, Earth had gone from an isolated world to a major player in galactic politics. Captain Lisa Martinez was leading the recovery teams that were collecting alien technology from the wreckage. Every piece of equipment, every computer core, every weapon system was carefully cataloged and studied. The aliens had brought humanity the greatest gift imaginable, knowledge of the galaxy beyond their solar system. "We're finding some interesting things," she reported during the daily briefing. Their computers contain records of other species that have resisted the Zephyrian Empire. We're not the only ones who've been fighting back. Meanwhile, deep space monitoring stations were detecting something that made everyone's blood run cold. Far beyond the edge of the solar system, massive energy signatures were moving toward Earth. The Zephyrian home fleet was coming, and it was enormous. Dr. Maria Santos was the first to confirm the readings. "I'm showing over 3,000 ships," she announced from the International Space Station. "They're moving fast, and they'll be here in 6 months." President Anderson called an emergency meeting of world leaders. The victory over the invasion fleet had been impressive, but now Earth faced the full military might of an galactic empire. 3,000 ships was 50 times larger than the force they had just defeated. "Can we handle that many?" asked the President. General Rick Thompson, who had been promoted to Earth's defense coordinator, smiled grimly as he reviewed the latest intelligence reports. "Mr. President, they still don't understand what they're facing. They think we got lucky. They think we're just another primitive world that happened to have a few hidden weapons." The truth was very different. The Zephyrian Empire had built their military to fight other energy-based civilizations. They had never encountered an enemy that used kinetic weapons, quantum technology, and coordinated tactics on the scale that humanity had developed. Their entire strategic doctrine was based on intimidation and superior firepower, not on fighting an enemy that could match them. Technologically, Dr. Kevin Walsh was already working on improvements to the planetary defense grid. The battle had shown that the system worked perfectly, but now they needed to scale it up to handle a much larger threat. "We can absorb the energy from 3,000 ships just as easily as 67, he reported. "In fact, the more they shoot at us, the more powerful our weapons become." Captain Steve Morrison was preparing the Defiant for long-range patrol duties. His ship and dozens of others would be deployed throughout the solar system, ready to engage the alien fleet before it could reach Earth. The humans had learned something important from studying the alien technology. Surprise was their greatest weapon. "They expect us to wait for them to arrive," he told his crew. "Instead, we're going to meet them halfway." The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years, but their time was ending. They had built their power on the fear of weaker species, never imagining that one day they would encounter a civilization that refused to be intimidated. They thought in terms of conquest and submission, while humanity thought in terms of innovation and adaptation. Colonel Ben Parker was overseeing the construction of new weapon platforms throughout the outer solar system. The aliens would find Earth surrounded by defensive installations that made their previous encounter look like a minor skirmish. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of space debris had been turned into a potential weapon. "Let them come," he said as he watched the construction crews working in zero gravity. "We'll show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The alien empire was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was not any single technology or weapon. It was their ability to work together, to innovate under pressure, and to never give up when their home was threatened. The Zephyrians had conquered 17 worlds, but Earth would be their last mistake got in 6 months. The galaxy would witness the fall of an empire and the rise of a new power. Humanity was ready to take its place among the stars, and the universe would never be the same again.